What's up, capitalists? This is Ryan Daniel Moran, and you're about to watch Wine with Wyan with my buddy Tom Burns here, who is a full-time real estate investor and orthopedic surgeon. Why both? Because he prioritizes his lifestyle and what is meaningful over everything else. So in this episode, you're going to learn how to invest in real estate, what types of deals you should look for. You're gonna learn all of this and more while Tom and I drink wine and talk about life and business. Enjoy this chat with Tom Burns. Hey, 1%ers, what's going on? Welcome back to Wine with Wyan. I have the best job in the world tonight. Tom won't brag on himself, so I will brag on him. And he'll watch, he'll get all embarrassed, and he'll say,
you'll see the red coming
and he'll say, no, not me. I'm not that big a deal, and I'm here to tell you he's that big of a deal. Tom is one of the most respected real estate investors in the city of Austin, Texas. He, how much of the city do you own? 27%?
Just a quarter.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, you are overseeing the build that's happening just down the street, right?
Down Lakeway, yes.
The medical complex.
Part of it, yes.
Right. So you know all the construction that you see happening in this booming economy? That's Tom at work. He's got a hard hat on and he's building all these buildings. Tom puts together large real estate deals. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, sir.
Now I know it didn't always start with you doing large deals. We'll go into kind of your backstory a bit.
Oh, sure.
But would you walk us through what a typical investment deal looks like these days?
Yeah, for us, usually we do our main sort of our lane is apartments. We've done some medical offices and we'll do apartments and things like that. It's usually a new apartment complex, ranges from $35 to $45 million for a build. We'll either identify the land or we'll identify a developer that's got the land already. We'll partner with them, bring the equity, get the debt, put it together, work with the architects.
And that means that you're bringing the funding to the table.
Yes,
Time,
absolutely.
Right? And but you also said the architects, so that has nothing to do with funding. So are you bringing together the different systems that person needs to do in order to build that vision that they have?
Absolutely, it's like everything. It's a team of people, and everybody has their expertise.
And you're basically the team lead.
Yes.
And you're the quarterback. The running back is the funding.
Yes.
And the wide receiver is the architect, if you will.
Exactly.
And you're the one going, all right, everybody, let's all get together and run a play.
And it's not me. It's my team. It's our team, my business partner, and all of us. I don't want to take all the credit.
Yeah.
In fact, I deserve probably less of the credit than the rest of my team.
Humblest man in Texas, ladies. Everything is big in Texas except for Tom Burns' ego. He is a very humble man. He's underselling himself. So you have a network of people that you partner with to invest in some of these deals. Yep. And then you have a network of architects who have done all kinds of different deals.
Right.
And a deal sometimes comes to your desk because they have a type of deal that somebody wants to do, or a type of complex that the city wants to do, or something like that.
Right.
When and how does a deal come to your attention?
So it comes all kinds of ways. We're looking all the time. There's brokers sending us stuff. There's builders and developers sending us things. So we look, you got to kiss a lot of frogs, as they say. You got to look, you got to see a lot of deals. And so for us, it's all about our investors. So if we believe that we can put something together based on the numbers that we have and the projections that we have, and we've got big data sources that we pull data from, and if we think the market's right, the project's right, the costs are right, and our investors can make a good return, then we look at the backside of the spreadsheet and see if we're going to make any money, because our investors get paid first. So if it's going to be good for the investors, and we might make a little something on the back end, then we pull the trigger.
Yeah, and when an investor is investing with you, they're just a passive investor that is just trusting your expertise and your team, correct?
Yes.
So when and how did you build that investor network?
Over a long period of time. It's all trust and relationships. So that started probably about 15 or 20 years ago. Was doing my own stuff, buying little things here and there.
What's a little thing back then?
Oh, I had little condominiums at the University of Texas. I got in there before they got too expensive, so I have quite a few of those now. And then the ugliest one was an old thing out in North Austin. It was pretty ugly. It was really ugly, but it had an AT&T tower on it. And with an AT&T tower, they direct deposit enough money to cover the entire mortgage and produce a profit. So whatever rent I got from the houses was all extra gravy. So it was pretty ugly. Anyway, got that sold. But over time, the deals just got a little bit bigger. And eventually, as everybody says, you run out of money. And so I ran out of my money, so I had to go get some other people.
When you ran out of money, you mean because you were investing it?
Yeah, deals got big enough that I needed some more money. So we just started telling people about the deals. I was excited about them. Partnered up with a couple of good partners. I've had 2 really good partners in my time. And eventually partnered up with one, and we built a large medical complex. I brought some physicians and other investors into that. Not to the medical complex. I actually built a hospital. I brought a bunch of doctors into that. And then,
doctors were your investors, you mean?
Yes, yes. That owned the hospital. I can't recommend building a hospital. It was 15 years of my life I'd like back. But we just eventually started doing larger and larger projects. First really big one was probably back in 2000. Well, first really big was in 2000, and then the first big apartment complex was 2009, 2010. And we just went out to our network, and back in 2009 and 10 was a great time to build an apartment complex.
Yeah.
We didn't know it back then, but it was a really bad time to raise money. Nobody was nobody was giving loans. No banks were giving loans. Nobody was loosening up the purse string, so it was really hard to get the money.
So before you finish this story, I'm trying to put some pieces together. Was it 2008, 9, 10 that you really started doing bigger deals? And
that's when we started doing the apartments.
So before then, you were doing hospitals and stuff on your own?
Yeah, no, with another partner.
Okay, so where I'm really going with this is, was it only 10 years ago that you really started to make it?
Yes, I think so. It was
really?
It was a slow burn. My whole thing was to create passive income, and it came slowly, and then that sort of snowballed on itself. And then in about over the 2000 to 2010 period, it was growing. It was getting pretty nice, making life a little nicer. And about 10 years ago is when it just sort of exponentially did that. So that's when it really happened.
That's fascinating. See, Tom, you give me hope for my life. This is why I admire you so much, because in our last
lucky.
Well, in our last podcast together, you told me that you really didn't start this career as an investor until you were 35.
That's right.
And that it took you 10 years to really feel like you were getting much progress.
Correct.
And it was only 10 years ago that you felt like you started hitting the exponential curve. And I think you're 61 now, is that right?
Still 60.
You're 60. And
not for long.
You still serve as a surgeon from time to time, which is your training and your background. And so you give me hope, because in this crazy internet world, it's so easy to compare yourself to the 23-year-old Mark Zuckerberg, who is a billionaire, and I want to shoot him in his face because he's like, those anomalies are normal now because they're all over the place.
And we think they're normal.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you have gone slower and steadier, but you have maintained the lifestyle that you really wanted from what seems to be your entire career.
Right.
And that's the case?
Yeah, it is. And if you think about it, I was replacing an orthopedic surgeon's income. It's a little higher than some others. And so that may be why it took longer. So it can happen if you're just slow and steady. It just starts building on itself. I just tell everybody, just put something in the asset column so it produces some money over time. If if I can make $1 a month that I'm not working for, I'm happy, because one day it's going to be 10, and then it'll be 100, and you start adding things to it, and eventually that money starts making babies, and it starts filling things, and it just steamrolls like this. And that's what happened over that first 10 years.
Yeah, it's so tempting to fall into the sexy promise of fast results.
Absolutely.
And so it's just really, really, it brings me some peace to hear you talk about it. I think we need to drink to that. Ladies, do you have an empty wine glass over there?
Yes.
I think we need to introduce you to the 1% over here. This is Chrisa Benson, ladies and gentlemen. Chrisa, I don't know if they can hear you, but can you shout a little bit about yourself?
Chrisa Benson. My company is called Physical Kitchenist, where I create healthy and happy recipes for families.
And the face of Fox Brim Naturals, Luann Corper.
Hi.
Come on over here. Welcome to Wine with Wyan.
I'm excited to be here.
You love being on camera, don't you?
It's my favorite.
Luann is the leader of Fox Brim Naturals. So, Chrisa, you hang out a lot with people like me who are internet folks.
Yes.
And fall into the trap of fast riches. What does your brain do when you hear Tom talk about his journey?
I felt the same kind of peace because I get a little bit wound up with wanting to do something in a timeline in a 3 or 6 month thing.
Right.
So knowing it's about the journey sometimes and not the destination is really exciting.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you. Tom, what do you tell people that you do? Do you say that you're an investor or a surgeon?
It sometimes depends on the situation. I tell them I'm a gigolo if it's the right situation. So I tell them I just tell them I wear multiple hats. Part-time surgeon and full-time real estate investor.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Since there's so many people who are watching and like myself who kind of fall into that internet trap of build a big company and sell it, or build a big company and you'll be rich forever. Being on the other side of that, having achieved the success and it taking 25 years, what would you say to people like me? What advice would you give them?
Well, first, those of us on the slow passive income course, we envy those of you that make it.
The comparison game is
Absolutely.
Universal, isn't it?
Absolutely. The grass is always greener and there's always a fence in between. So I would say that it's a long journey, to use her word, and as you were mentioning before we got started, I try not to level up that angst too much and enjoy it while you're on the journey. Enjoy yourself along the way. I used to tell my wife that I don't care what we do or how successful we are, as long as we're having fun along the way.
Yeah.
So have fun, enjoy it, but I tell you, persistence does win the game. You just keep adding blocks on top, and eventually they get big. It's like Gary and Jay's book. It's like The One Thing. They talk about dominoes.
Yeah.
One small domino today, a year from now knocks over big dominoes, and that can be big projects or a big company or something like that. You just have to do something every day to move yourself forward.
Well, Tom, I don't know if it's an internet entrepreneur thing, but I know so many people who are not having fun and that are trapped in the angst of the lack of results versus the excited pursuit of growth.
Right.
And can you tell me, from your perspective, is it more the mindset you started with and that you just continue to cultivate, or did you have a point in which you were feeling the angst and you made a pivot?
I think I've just been cursed with a positive attitude.
I'm asking purely selfishly because I find
absolutely.
myself in the trap of comparing myself to other people or feeling the angst of where I am compared to where I want to be.
Right.
And you're saying, well, enjoy the process. Of course, I know that intellectually, but please tell me that somebody else struggles with this.
Everybody does. And of course I have. I do. I mean, I absolutely look at the guys that sell their companies, and I wrote a section in my book about the internet millionaires in Austin back in the 2000s. I'm struggling away trying to buy a condo or two here and there. I spoke to a bunch of doctors yesterday in Florida. I was given the keynote address, and the main first half of the talk was about the mind. Our wellness is mind, body, and spirit, and the mind is really a powerful thing. We can choose our own attitude. You can just choose to be happier. You can. I know it sounds real touchy-feely, but a little perspective helps. And prior to that talk, I'm sitting at lunch with a guy who is really working on this. And before we ate, he said, I just want to have a little bit of gratitude, the fact that I'm not having to work today. I'm getting to have a nice conversation with you. It's just small wins. So, many of us are not being shot at. We're not carrying our water out of croc-infested waters to wash our clothes. So a little perspective helps. And, try to just enjoy the ride. I don't know how better to put it.
Have you had any deals go south, or have you had any days where you wanted to give up? Have you had... Tell me more.
How much wine do you have?
We got plenty, Tom. Don't you worry.
It's all 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I've lost a bunch of money. Been slapped in the face by life. I've been connected up with just literally pure criminals, I think, and con men and stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of stuff happens. We got a deal happening right now. It's supposed to close tomorrow, and the insurance company threw us a little curveball about an hour and a half ago. So that kind of stuff happens. It's just a matter of course. So yeah, all the time. And I wrote in the book, how our mistakes teach us lessons and it helps us move forward, but when it's happening, it's not a whole lot of fun. I wish I could tell you I was real zen and knowing that this was a lesson that was happening, but that's not the case. But you do eventually look back and realize it's all worth it.
So Tom, I want to ask you, I know you got back from Florida today, I think.
Yes.
You're giving a speech to a group of doctors.
Yep.
And really your specialty is, since you're a doctor who broke out of the doctor rat race,
Yep.
that rat race being doctors have a high salary, but they also have high expenses, high debt. They think they need to live in a big house, and they drive nice cars, and they're just trapped in this cycle forever. You broke out of that by investing in real estate.
Right.
And I know you give speeches, and you've written a book that is coming out pretty soon.
Yep.
About escaping that rat race that doctors get in. What advice do you give them to escape that high-paying job trap?
I tell them to first step back and think about mindset, like I was just talking about. Use their mind, realize life isn't that bad. A lot of doctors are unhappy, A lot of doctors are unhappy with their work, and they're not going to get a whole lot of sympathy from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That's still the number one job statistically by polls in the country. But I tell them to get back, and I tell them to go get some education. If they want to step out and do something else, if they want to quit, great, good for them. I support that. Then do what I've done or you've done, and burn the candle at both ends. That's what I did. I burned the candle at both ends for a long time. Now I'm down to only 14-hour days. But that's by choice. I tell them to try to, if they want to create some sort of freedom and latitude and some choice in their life, I tell them to find a way to create some passive income. Mm-hmm. And in order to start that, it starts in the mind. It always starts in the mind. And then get some education. And they're experts at education. They should be really good at it. But it's kind of sometimes hard to crack that shell, because doctors, they know everything. Right? So I tell them to get around people. I tell them to start associating with people that are maybe outside their usual framework. People like you, people that just get into a different network, find out that there's more life out there. And eventually what happens to them is it's like a light bulb. I'll talk to you guys. It's like a light bulb.
There's pretty girls behind you.
I know.
It's
not near as pretty as what's going on, but I can
Tom.
see them through there. But it is like a light bulb. People will come up. I've given talks to doctors and said, just giving them sort of a high-level view of what's possible. I've given 20-minute talks and spent 2 hours answering questions with literally people saying, I had no idea that was possible. I was always taught X, Y, and Z, and you're the first person that's ever opened my eyes. So it's really just be open and, kind of have an open, accepting attitude, and then go start learning about what's out there in life, and people find their paths.
And what routes do you usually see doctors go down in order to start generating passive income?
First they try to get an extra job, which is not passive income.
Yeah, no good.
It's called side gigs and side hustles, they're calling them. And really all they're doing is just adding an extra job onto what they're doing. It's got some benefits. You can produce extra income. And if you don't spend the stuff, you can use that to make some passive income. So most of them right now are getting into real estate. Everybody's getting into multifamily real estate. I mean, everybody's getting into multifamily real estate. And if you watch life is curves, right? So pretty much that's the hot thing right now. So I think it's playing itself out a little bit.
I understand.
Am I in that? Absolutely. But I've got a full team. We did 2 deals last year.
Yeah, you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, and we have a whole team looking for deals, and we still only did 2 deals last year. So
wow,
it's hard to find good ones. And so a lot of them are going into that. But real estate has always been good. I like real estate. There's other ways to make passive income. In your world, there's ways to do it if you can systematize it. Mm-hmm. Most of them are going into real estate.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
So that's the most common path that a lot of doctors are going down.
Right.
And for people who are not doctors, would you recommend that they go down the same route?
Absolutely. It's been great to me.
Tell me more.
I just think I like real estate. There are plenty of other things, and I won't talk about them because I don't have the knowledge base, as I've proved. But real estate's been around a long time, and it's slow moving. You can do it. You can do it part-time or full-time. You can do it by yourself or with partners. You can use lots of leverage. The laws right now are awesome for real estate. Is it really difficult right now as far as pricing and things like that? Absolutely, but there's always a deal out there. So you can find something, and you can leverage other people. You don't have to do everything yourself. As we were talking about before this, you can leverage other people's expertise and knowledge and time. You can do that in the real estate world. There's syndications where you can tag into a team that already has the infrastructure available, has the debt, has the deal itself. But that's also where your education comes into play, because you've got to know who you're dealing with. You've got to make sure you can trust them, and you have to know what things to look for people that are maybe taking your money and putting it into something.
Tom, you made the comment earlier that everything is in the mind, or everything starts in the mind. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, we talk about being wealthy or being rich, right? So who's that? A story for you. Who's wealthy? You can have a doctor that makes $400,000 a year, works from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m, comes home, barely knows his kids' names, falls in bed and wakes up again the next day to go back and be a rich doctor. He lives in a nice house, and drives a pretty good car. You could have another guy, makes $50,000 a year, he makes it all passively. That guy gets to do anything he wants. He can build that business larger, or he can travel the world, but he's got that money coming in every year. If he's got his expenses covered passively, I would challenge you or anybody to say, who's the richer person in that? Because wealth's not just money, it's time, it's relationships, it's self-growth.
I've had the realization recently that the whole reason why I went down the route of pursuing freedom in the first place was because I was after a feeling. And I was after a feeling of creativity, a feeling of ease, a feeling of spontaneity, a feeling of fun. I wanted to be able to pursue and enjoy those things.
Yeah.
And I spent so much time and so many years working to get there that once I get there, I was very unpracticed in fun and excitement and spontaneity. I was very well practiced in hard work and grind and worry and fear. And this period of my life has been relearning how to dream like that again and experience the pleasure of having that experience again. When I look at you, you seem to have a very easy, playful persona and personality. I've never called you or emailed you and you've been too busy.
Oh, no.
Right? And we've hung out like 4 or 5 times. Right? And so, I don't expect to be at the top of your priority list, and yet you always got time.
Always.
For me.
Absolutely.
And it seems like you've always got time for people who need you. So you seem to have that easy, playful space in your life. And I want to know, did you have to practice at that? Or did you have to relearn that at one point?
I think I always wanted to have fun doing what I was doing. Yeah. There was never a goal that couldn't be dropped if it wasn't
Really?
fun. Yeah.
Has there ever been a big goal that you were in pursuit of that you dropped?
I can't remember. Probably, but it probably won't come to mind
Okay.
right now. But
what you're saying is you were more protective of the fun than the goal.
yeah, I was. But always a hard worker. I always wanted to do. If I was given a job, it was going to be 100% effort. It was going to be the best. But that may be 100% effort to my real estate or to whoever's getting surgery from me. But it's also going to be to go into Peru or going to Kazakhstan or something like that. I want to go play. I want to see every country in the world. So I'm going to give 100% to that. So maybe part of it was inborn, because I was always having fun. Life's not perfect for sure. I can promise you have ups and downs, and we get down and we get up. But I don't know. This is just coming out tonight. This was a fun thing for me. Yeah. Of course, I've always got time for you.
Well, thanks,
I have time for you guys too.
So when you're looking back at your career, you had that hockey stick moment that you said happened 10 years ago or
Yep.
so. Was there something that changed to give you that hockey stick moment, or was it just the natural course of doing the right thing for a long period of time?
It was that accumulation of the 10 years before, just literally adding something to the asset box that produced income I didn't have to work for. Because it wasn't always real estate. I'd put anything in there, anything that was going to give me money that I didn't have to do surgery or see a patient or do an activity for, I would add it in there. And that stuff's slow. That's what's kind of sometimes disconcerting. You'll make a few extra bucks a month and it doesn't change your life, right? Well, you do 2 of those and it still doesn't change your life, but at least it's twice as good. And over time, that stuff just keeps coming, and that's money that's additive to everything else you're bringing on. So if you keep doing that, eventually that snowball gets bigger and bigger, and eventually you got a big enough ball to put it down there, and it starts making more.
Yeah.
That's where the hockey, it was just kind of a nice little growth. But during that 10 years, in my world as a surgeon, in fact, I can think of the first time I did something that was fun. I had Friday afternoon office. And so I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so I fix broken stuff and things. I was a young doctor in town, and I had Friday afternoon office, and everybody knew it. So they'd send people into me all the time. So I was operating at 5 o'clock, and after office, I'd operate at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Fridays. I was working all the time on Fridays. I finally started making enough passive income. I thought, I'm just going to drop that Friday afternoon. I dropped a 4-hour office, and my life changed. All of a sudden, I had a 2.5-day weekend. That was the first thing I ever did. That was the first taste of freedom, and that whetted the appetite.
Yeah.
Big time.
And how long have you been practicing when you got the 2.5-day weekend?
That was probably 2 to 4 years.
2 to 4 years into being
an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I did it pretty quick.
So, Tom, you have children that are grown, right? 2, I think?
Yes.
2, I believe?
Yep.
1 son, 1 daughter, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What advice will you give your children as they pursue financial independence?
I've always said them first, always give your best, whatever you're doing. If you're taking out the trash, give your best. That's sort of number one mantra. The first thing I told I'm going to be honest and real with you guys. The first thing I told both of them was to read one book. It was Robert's book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of people know that book. It's just a good start. Kind of turns your brain a little bit. And I'll tell your entire audience, I'm still waiting for both of them to read it. Honest answer. They both come to me and said, I'd like to learn. I'd like to do what you do. And my son said, I'd like to come work for you. I said, you haven't got any skills, so you can't work for me. So that's an honest answer. Neither one of them's read the book, so they haven't got a lot of advice from me.
That's really interesting.
So I would tell them to get educated and open their minds a little bit, like I would tell if you were a physician, or I'd tell anybody, just start learning what's out there, So start learning a little bit, start associating with some folks doing it, and your mind will open up a little bit.
Now, you have the fortune of having a personal relationship with Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
The two of you are homies.
Yeah.
At this point, you have reached a certain level of success that you're not going to hang out with Robert to learn what the latest and greatest is going on. You've reached a certain level of success. So I want to know, besides how to generate passive income, what has your relationship with Robert Kiyosaki taught you?
Oh man. Be surprised. We talk a lot of spiritual stuff. A lot of Eckhart Tolle, Mark Singer. I mean, a lot of self and ego and humility. So most of what we talk about is team, loyalty, ego, personal development. We don't talk money anymore.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Honest answer.
And so where my brain naturally goes is we've talked about the fact that you've had bad days. I've had bad days. Doctors have bad days.
Yep.
Does Robert Kiyosaki have bad days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those are usually censored moments. Just go.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
When
ma'am.
you were in the grind, you were in that hustle where you were trying to figure out what was the thing,
Yeah.
and you were raising children. What would you say to parents, entrepreneurs who are dealing with, raising kids and trying to find that balance of playing and hustling and grinding, what would you tell yourself back then?
So I made a conscious decision. This was before I made a conscious decision back then. I had the priority list. It was God, family, freedom, work. That was my priorities. So I would, back before I had passive income, I would cancel an office. I'd cancel my doctor's office like a vacation day. I would just cancel it so that I could go to school and read to the first graders. I would always make time for children. So maybe you can't do that all the time, but that's what I did. So my greatest, my greatest award, my greatest trophy in the world is that my 31-year-old daughter's friends still call me the fun dad to this day.
That's
It's my
great.
biggest trophy. So
You know what I'm realizing from hearing him answer this question, Chrisa? I'm realizing that I'm finally getting what your superpower is.
what's that?
You prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah.
And so many of us as entrepreneurs prioritize what has to get done, not what's important to
You're
us.
letting something else prioritize your life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you have to decide.
And so you just said, no. God, family, freedom, then work. So if work conflicts with me reading to the first graders, sorry work, I'm going to go read to the first graders. Oh!
Yes.
Why do we make it so hard on ourselves? Yes, cheers to that one. Like,
Cheers to that.
why do we make life so hard? We got into this game for fun. Like, I'm so guilty of this, see money? I'm so guilty of this.
Tom makes it sound easy.
Oh, I want to be Tom when I grow up.
Oh.
Because it's just so easy to wake up in the morning and go, and first question, what were sales and what do I have to do today?
Right.
It's so easy to go there. But you would never wish that upon someone that you cared about. Like, so Chris, if you are ever stressed at work, I'm like, dude, go on, like, please go on vacation. Like, I want you to be happy. It's so easy for me to do that for you, and yet for myself, I never do that.
You need to be out on that lake every morning
I
on a
need to-
jet ski.
Cold plunge.
Yeah, really.
Right now.
But I'm so practiced in thinking about what do I need to get done. And it's easier for my brain to go there than to go, what do I want to do? What do I want? What am I excited about? What sounds fun? But yet I know intellectually that if I prioritize what's fun, my work gets better.
Yeah, right.
I think you might have just given me the final lesson that I need to finally get that. Thank
Well, you're
you
an
for that.
achiever. You're an achiever. You want to get it done right, but if if you just switch a little bit, you'll get that same achievement. In fact, the achievement actually becomes, it multiplies. It just gets better. One time in my life, I quit doing something. I quit taking call at the hospitals. I got busier. I just said this is not good for the family, so I stopped, doing emergency calls. I got busier. Life just gives you what
do you mean
deserve.
you got busier? You mean that more people started calling?
Yeah, more people came into my office. This was, again, before I had all the real estate. It was interfering with family time, so I stopped doing, emergency call, those sort of things. And the world or karma or whatever it was just made me busier.
But by busier, you mean business got better,
Business
right?
got better, yeah. Can't explain it.
Yeah,
It
I know.
happened.
I needed that one.
Yeah.
I see. I can't explain that. I really do believe that when we're communicating, we're using words to try and convey something much deeper going on, right?
Right.
I'm having a feeling or a block of thought, and then I'm communicating it to you, and you're doing the same thing back. But where we really communicate is if I understand the feelings and the thoughts that you're having, and I don't just respond to the words that you're saying. And so often, I think when you are in a stressed emotion and you're communicating, you're really communicating from a place of stress. And when you just relax that, your phone rings off the hook because now there's no more of that stress that you are communicating to clients and customers.
Right.
So I really do believe there's something to that. I don't know that I'm right, but I think I'm at least scratching at the surface to how we really operate.
You can feel when somebody's just grinding and when somebody's pretty just comfortable in their space. You can just feel it, don't you think?
Yes.
You can just tell.
Well, this was one of the things I noticed about you. I remember I told you that I was like looking to make new friends in town.
Yeah.
And I met you and I was like, this is somebody I need to be friends with.
I was so shocked.
This is
did I
someone
do?
I need to be friends with. He's happy, he's successful, he's stressed. I have something to learn from this person.
That came from one with Patrick.
That's
we
right.
sat down with Patrick
Right.
and just talked.
That's right. Yeah.
What a fortuitous event.
You do pick up on things very quickly. So a question came in from Daniel Weaver. In your opinion, what criteria makes a real estate deal worth doing for you? Sure. What are you looking for when you're deciding if a deal is worth? Are you looking at the percent return, or is there a different metric that you're looking at? How do you analyze a deal?
If it's an acquisition, it's got to make money today. You can't be. I don't buy, and our company doesn't buy on speculation, assuming that the value is going to be more years to come. We buy on cash flow, so it's got to be. It's all cash flow. So and there's metrics we use, net operating income and things like that, but it's got to make money today. And then it just depends on how much we want to make. You know, right now you don't get to choose how much you make. Right now you're making less. If you want to buy something now, your expectations have to be a bit lower. We also develop. So we're developing that for cash flow, but it takes 2 years, sometimes 3 years before that happens, because you got to buy the land, you got to put the sticks up, you got to put the concrete down. But it has to produce cash flow. And then secondarily, what we look at, our world follows jobs. You know, if there's jobs, if there's people moving into the area, the job market's good, jobs create people that need apartments and real estate and things like that. So primary thing is it has to make me money.
It has to cash flow from day one.
It's got to have cash flow, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember Robert Kiyosaki saying that a lot of people will buy things in the hope that the paper value goes up, and that's speculating, not investing.
It's like buying a stock.
That's why when he's buying a stock, he only buys a stock that's producing a dividend,
right,
rather than buying a stock that he thinks is going to go up in value. Right. Do you buy into that concept?
100%.
Yeah.
I don't, because I can't predict what's going to go in the future, and I've done well sometimes on capital gains, and sometimes I've missed out on some things.
Yeah.
It's just got whatever life we describe that I have that's not perfect, but it's nice, has all come from cash flow. It's all been cash. My whole focus in life was just putting something, if y'all have seen Robert's, it's just putting something in the asset column that's going to produce me money.
That's so interesting. I mean, Tom, I like you more every time we hang out. Well, it's just like FOMO comes when you see other people kill it in the short term.
Right.
And so I think there's a temptation to pursue speculation to try and get the short-term results. For example, this week, Tesla stock doubled and then doubled again.
Wow.
It went up 4 times in 3 weeks. It went up 400%. It went from $250 to $900 in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
It was nuts, absolutely nuts. I sold at 600. So now on the day I sold, I was thrilled.
Right.
But from 600 to 900, I felt like the biggest loser in the world.
You need a hike in the green belt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it happened in 2 days, right?
Right.
The jump from I'm like, I've been sitting on Tesla stock for 2 years, and yet I could have doubled my money in the last 2 days. Right? That was my mentality. Then, of course, today, depending on when you're seeing this, it came way, way down.
Sure. Right?
Because the speculation stopped, and people started speculating that it was going to go down in value.
Right.
But at the same time, I buy a whole lot of Walgreens and Target and blue chip companies that my best investments are Costco and CVS and these dividend paying stocks that just keep paying dividends for a long period of time. And you know what? They are not sexy, and other people who bought Apple and Netflix and Tesla creamed me the last 3 years.
Okay.
But I've never
long game.
But I've never worried about those stocks going away.
Right.
I'm basically hearing you say that you go, okay, that's cool. Enjoy your speculation. That's very nice. I'm going to miss some upside, but I'm always going to make I'm always going to turn a profit while other people are fighting for the big wins.
See, the difference is I think cash flow is sexy. So I think cash flow is sexy because it just sticks around, you know, and lets you do what you want to do. So
That's
it provides a base. Then you can go. Then you can try to hit those home runs. Just hit a bunch of singles. Then you can go try to swing for home runs.
Well, would you give the same advice though to somebody who was working a normal job and didn't have passive income yet? I've heard the argument made of, well, if I'm just working a normal job, then I've kind of got to swing for the fences with the money that I've got left over. I've kind of got to speculate in order to have the room for me to be able to create momentum. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Disagree, and I'm not a fan of speculation. I mean, speculation. You know, the guys at the Chicago Board of Trade, they risk 1% of their capital for a reason. Those guys are pros. So you're going to risk 50%, 100% of your capital on speculation when you're not a pro. You're going to get beat eventually. In fact, you're going to get beat 99% of the time, probably. No, I would still tell that person either manage your time. You know, we've all got the same amount of time, and you know, some people use it better than others. You can always find time for what's important. So find some time to learn about something or do something else or get a second job and get a little extra. And I'm still a big fan of passive income. It may not be the right way, but that's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
For Tom Burns, that's what I would do.
Whew. Luann, what do you want to ask Tom Burns?
I'm curious, kind of like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you do any forward planning, or do you always just kind of?
Yeah, once you're at the top,
Yeah.
how do
where
you
go
plan forward?
You see, I don't think I'm at the top, so that's the easy thing. I'm still learning. I'm trying. So I'm on a new adventure. You know, I've written a book and I've started a website that, you know, just went live yesterday, and I'm so clueless about how all that works. But
Call your buddy Ryan.
yeah, exactly. And so what I want to do, I just want to try to make a difference. You know, we talked about the doctors. I've got some credibility with that crowd. You know, if I tried to talk to the world about personal finance, I'd just be another voice in an ocean of really big voices for personal finance. But I can talk to the doctors. So if I can get, you know, if I can catch one that's really burned out and really start thinking that life's not worth living, then, you know, maybe I've had my victories. So that's my plan. So I like to speak. I'll talk to anybody. And so I don't know that I'm a good public speaker, but I've been doing that, so I did yesterday. So we'll see. I hope to be talking to enough folks and getting them to, you know, maybe see what I've, you know, come to the website, learn. You know, I'm hoping to start talking to that list and making some kind of a difference. That's the plan.
If you were 30 years younger, but you carried all the knowledge that you have today, and it was still today's economy, would you still buy multifamily real estate?
I think that's a great question. That is a great question. You could still find, you know, there's an old guy that used to say, no matter what the economy, good or bad, there's always the deal of the century around the corner if you find it. There's always a good deal. I love apartments. We're still underserved. We're still 3.9 million units short between now and 2030. It just depends on where you put them. So we spend a lot of time researching where to put those things. I would still buy that. I just would be wary of the type I built or bought. I would look at some self-storage opportunities and maybe some RV parks, and mobile homes are really hard to manage. But, you know, I would partner with those people. I would hire out my weaknesses. But man, I'm telling you, that, you know, even Kiyosaki and a bunch of other people say, you know, the secret to wealth is the number of doors you own. You know, so we're always going to need a place to live, and we don't have enough units for us to live. We still have to, with the way the demographics are, we don't have enough units. So it's just finding the right place to put it. So yeah, I still would.
You still believe in this asset class?
Yes.
Even with lots of people jumping in, even with the market at the top, you still believe that's the route that you would create wealth with?
Yes, and we're doing that, but carefully. Like I said, we target 4 deals a year, and we did 2 last year.
Yeah.
But I believe that when things turn down, when things get a little difficult, that's when we're really going to pick up our home runs.
And that's because you're sitting in a strong cash position, because you didn't spend all of your capital going out and getting the next speculative deal. You waited. And so when those prices come down and the speculators run, you're going to be there with the cash flow to be able to buy
We're
those?
going to jump like jackals, man. We're going to be on that stuff. And people ask me, the doctors, sometimes they'll get to this, and it's not always doctors, they'll get to this trust point and they'll say, well, I want to invest. Now I'm excited. I want to invest everything right now. And I'm like, hold off. And even if they want to invest in RDs, I'll tell them, take that dollar, tear it in half, keep half of it over here for dry powder, and then, get into something prudent and start learning, because you learn when you invest in something. But I would tell people to sort of save a little dry powder. You can't sit and wait. If you sit and wait, you do miss things, and you don't learn either. So you always need to be in the market, and you're in the market when you've got your money in the market.
Yeah.
And then by having your money in the market, it keeps your brain in there. Then you can see when things turn, and then you really know, and then also when you see a good deal. So that's what I suggest to people to right now maybe have a little bit of dry powder.
Yeah, Tom, inevitably there's going to be people who want to find out more about the investor relations that you have at your company. So how would
absolutely.
people look that up?
Golly, I don't know which website to give them. If you're doctors, go to richdoctor.com. But our multifamily website is presarioventures.com.
Easy to spell.
Yeah, Presario Ventures. It's like impresario without the EM. That's why the other one's called Rich Doctor. That one's easy. But those two, those two, and they've both got a lot of education on both of them. That's all we do. We just educate our investors, and then they'll come. They'll ask us when they want to come and invest.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you to all of you who watched
guys.
live. And by the way, if you saw this on the recording and you're not a member of the 1%, you are missing hanging out with people like Tom, who, literally, we just brought an investment opportunity. I shouldn't say that. Literally, we just brought a person that you should know and an asset class that you should consider, and basically the knowledge of somebody who has built something amazing passed on to you. So if you're just watching on the recording and you're hanging out with other 1%ers who are on this path, who can open up doors for you, you can create opportunities for you, you can join us over at capitalism.com/join. Tom, thanks for hanging out with us at
Thank you. It was
capitalism.com.
fun.
It's great
We
to
still
see
have
you.
another bottle too.
Good night, everybody.